Hey everyone, chances are in the last several weeks you've noticed an uptick in gas prices. Perhaps even more than $1 gallon of change within the last month or so. And of course, they surged. I warned you about this in a video I've done last year. And many of you argue, well, perhaps it's something to do with the Middle East, or could be California refineries, one thing after another, whether it's speculative or there's a shortage. Not to mention the lessons that we should have learned from the 1970s oil shock, the price swings of the 2000s, the 2022 oil price jump. All of those should have taught you a lesson. And many of you who watch this video think that, well, we just got to drill more, increase supply, or plug in and put more electric cars, which both of those ideas, while they are reasonable, they have their issues. Electric cars have been proven as not the clear transportation alternative to gas-powered vehicles, despite its benefits. And not to mention drilling, well, doesn't really solve the entirety of the problem. As a result, we have a system, despite that mentality and not willing to think outside of the box, that we are very car dependent. And what's worse about it is that we are car dependent thanks to our land use policies, codes, and other factors. Not to mention, the really devastating part about all this is that very few of us live in housing units that have good-sized backyards. Most of us live in compact lot detached homes or multifamily units. And yet, despite all of this, we still don't have clear alternatives to car travel. Not even much of any car sharing. We don't have any clear alternatives such as walking, cycling, transit. Many of these so-called other alternatives we have are very much second-handed, believe it or not. Despite all of these massive gas price swings we've had for decades, we haven't successfully provided enough mixed-use development to make land uses closer together. We have not successfully reformed our codes enough, although slight improvements, such as parking requirements, street design that create these stroads that we have now, which makes it pretty much very unpleasant for pedestrians to get around. Not to mention all the other costs that are associated from this car-dependent system, also known as sprawl, which can exist even in high-density areas. Because the fundamental factor is that traffic flow, land use, and architecture are the heart of what creates this modern planned urban planning system we've had for decades, which is immune to energy price shocks, which doesn't have a lot of benefits to our environment, which creates congestion, public and private costs, lack of social interaction, lack of attractive artistic places, multiple health risks that come along with it. You see, folks, there's a good chance I've told you in my previous video that the shutdowns in the California refinery system, which, again, it's not guaranteed the prices will shock up even more. But this tells you that we should not have an urban planning system that is vulnerable, that is dependent on low energy costs, especially when it comes to our basic necessities that we need to do. And I'm not trying to point out that we have to live like inner cities. I'm just pointing out that if you live in a detached home or a multifamily unit that has a lot size of less than 8,000 square foot, you should have a clear Plan B option to get to your daily necessities. I guess more horrible gas price shocks have to occur for people to truly wake up and realize that, hey, we need alternatives to infill development. And not to mention alternatives to outward growth as well, and not the same status quo sprawl that we've been doing for decades. And I've addressed this into the last town hall meeting. It was basically almost all state legislatures and one county commissioner, Gibson, who were all Democrats. I told them about this. I shared them my plans on Revit. And I brought this up last week at a Turning Point Charlie Kirk event. I talked to these people to all different angles. But see, this issue is very important, and it's not partisan, and it should be an issue that's addressed from all different organizations and all different walks of life. But it's not just the high oil prices, it's the volatility of these very high oil prices that's really sickening. So even if the prices are not high, just enough of this topsy-turvy. But if we had true urban planning alternatives, this really would not be an issue. Because, folks, we can drill more oil, and yes, the prices will come down. But guess what? What if we realize there is no more cheap oil left that we can extract? Because extraction costs, all of that matters. What if we get somebody else in charge that doesn't want to drill oil anymore? What if some unexpected disruption happens, a meteor hits? Folks, you have to start thinking outside of the box. You have to start understanding that you can't just always be demanding and expect low gas prices to exist forever. And we can't just have plug-in electric vehicles that's just going to save in the day, which is not going to solve our congestion problems, which is not going to solve the cost to build these neighborhoods, these car-dependent areas. It's not going to solve the fact that you have to mine to create the batteries. Where are you going to get the electricity? Coal, natural gas? Well, we could just have solar and wind. Well, that's not great for the environment necessarily either. And hardly anybody's talking about geothermal, wave, and tidal. So look, we got to build more traditional, walkable neighborhoods. And if hardly anybody is talking about that, then we seriously have a problem. So get out there, make a difference, and start lobbying for serious code reform. Thank you so much.